iffy on if we were going to be here or not be here. And so part of this good for me was that I was able to kind of move out of my house, I guess, and get to come here and live on campus. The bad is kind of it's been very different on campus. I struggled first semester. I didn't have any like really in-person classes. I ended up with one, I think, by the end of the semester out of like my 16, 17 credits. And so I think that's probably like some of the worst parts is that your education is a lot different than what you're used to, but it's something that you have to adjust to, I guess. It's also a very different social life. Like, yeah, you get to meet new people, but it's very different aspects like football games or tailgating. Like, you don't get all the real experiences that, let's say, a freshman usually would have. But also, there are still like opportunities to meet people. I have a really good friend group here, and I have a really good like hall that I live on, and I enjoy that a lot. Like Grace is one of my good friends here that you've already chatted with, and a
Mhm.
couple other people I think you've met. um, but that's pretty much my good and my bad, I guess, overall. But this semester's been a little bit better. We have some more in-person classes starting out. We're trying to kind of do more in-person things, I guess, club-wise and organization-wise too. So.
So how have you met most of your friends? Has it just been people that like live on your floor, like Grace? Like, has it been through some classes? I mean, you said that mostly everything has been online. Like, how have you met people? I feel like, I mean, every student is compromised, but when I thought of this story, I thought, like, damn, it's got to be really tough for freshmen because when you first get here, you're pushed to be outside of your comfort zone and like meet people. Like, Iowa State has that whole program within the first few weeks. Is it Destination Iowa State or whatever?
Destination Iowa State.
Yeah. So,
Um,
like, how have you met people? How have you been able to formulate those friendships?
yeah, I was lucky enough before coming to Iowa State that I'm from Iowa. I'm not from too far away from here. So I actually knew a lot of people like coming in that are like upperclassmen, but they have like their own friend groups and their own things. And so at first when I came here, it was really hard. The only person I really knew was like my roommate and then a couple more people. But we actually, a lot of the friends that we have right now, we met like our first week here in our hall. A lot of them are my neighbors, and Grace lives just like a floor or two down from me. And that was how we started meeting people. And then from there, it just kind of grew. Like you met their friends through them. We still go out and we do have social events. Like I know, like COVID, it's very dangerous, but we still go like to our friends and stuff like that. And there are still like social party events and
Yeah.
so you always meet people through that. I also am lucky enough that I'm in a couple clubs that still meet in person. And so joining those, I've gotten the experience to meet a lot of new people and like do some traveling this last semester with them. So that was nice, at least.
Did you have any expectations coming into college? Because I feel like, you being a freshman, you just came out of high school and then you're going into a really weird year for college with COVID for every student. I mean,
Yeah.
so like, what were some of your expectations? Did you know that they were gonna have to change, considering that this isn't really the typical college experience?
So I have three older sisters, and so I grew up like hearing all about like college is so much fun. It's like your freedom, like do whatever you want. And like that was my expectation coming here was that I'd have that opportunity to kind of do what I want, I guess. And then when you get here and with COVID, there was actually a lot of like new rules. Like we aren't allowed to have more than like two guests in our room at a time, and you have to wear your mask even to go to like the bathroom. So
Wow.
it's yeah, it's very different, and that kind of changed my expectation. I felt like I was going from like a set of rules to a new set of rules.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one of them. And then I expected to get involved in a lot of things because that's just the type of person I am. And it's been very hard to get involved and meet those people unless you're like unless they give you the opportunity. And with COVID, that's been a really hard thing this year.
What have you been able to get involved in, whether it be like a club or like what have you been doing to stay active outside
Um,
of classes?
so I'm involved in our hall parliament here in Joffrey Hall where I live. And so I'm the secretary of the building and their floor's president. So I get to like attend meetings with them, but they're like all virtual, of course. And then I am involved in a couple clubs on campus, Block and Bridal. Ag Business Club and the Ag Eds Club. And so those actually all meet in person and they're just like socially distanced, not as long or as fun as they usually are, but we still are able to like have meetings and have events. So those have been some things that I've got involved in this year.
Do you ever get tired of like doing everything over Zoom? Like, is
Yes.
isn't it kind of annoying? Like, it's so weird. Like, I feel like it's replacing one-on-one human interaction, like face to
Yeah.
face.
I feel like I'm staring at my computer like 24/7. I have like
Yeah.
of lectures to watch that I'm like watching a teacher teach other people or like old classes,
Yeah.
and it really loses your interest real fast.
How have your grades been? I feel like that's something to point out for a lot of people is that they lose motivation from the fact that everything is virtual and it's so easy to get distracted while you're taking a class online. So have you found that to be a challenge?
Yes. So the good thing is I enjoy school. So even though I don't enjoy this version of school, I enjoy like learning. And so for me, it's been like pushing myself to make sure I do it. There have been some times, like I know this semester I'm struggling with a few of my online classes that have a lot of like reading and just like staring at my computer. And a lot of it, I know a lot of my friends have struggled with their grades kind of over the semester, just like adapting to the online learning. But also, Iowa State has, on their part, they have tried to kind of help you with that. They have a lot of new resources that are at least nice. I know, like, I've used the Writing Center here for a couple papers, and
Hmm.
while those, again, are virtual, it's been a lot of help at least. But I think for the most part, it's just adapting to it. Like, my grades are okay, but I've also adjusted to the online. But for people that haven't had that chance or are struggling with that, I know it's been a little more difficult.
Do you feel like your mental health has taken a hit at all throughout this whole process, or have you been able to stay pretty level-headed with everything, or
Yeah, mental health is always something that everyone struggles with, but COVID has really brought that, I think, into light for a lot of people. I personally struggle with like anxiety and stuff like that. And so over COVID, it's been very different. I spend a lot of time like, like you're just sitting in your room or you're overthinking things.
yes,
So
yes,
I
I know
think that's
what
been
you're
like
talking about.
yeah, that's like my biggest struggle personally. But I have a really good backing. Thankfully, I have like really parents that are very um, helpful, and I have a job here at Iowa State that was very helpful to keep me productive and keep me going. And I was able to like leave my room and have my kind of space. Um, but yeah, COVID has really taken a toll, I think, on a lot of people. And being in line and being secluded, I'm a very social person, and it's hard for me. Like if you bundle me up and tell me I can't go anywhere for months at a time or like
Yeah.
weeks. It's been very hard.
I mean, this may be a personal question, so you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but like what triggers your anxiety? Is it like a social thing? Is it like you were saying how being in the same setting, caged in, almost like a caged animal, and then you overthink every situation. Like you've been in this one place for so long that when you finally go out and interact with people, is that what you're saying? Because like I can relate on that level.
Yeah, kind of. I struggle a lot with like I tell people the comparison on if you like gave me two pairs of pants held up and told me to pick one, it would make me like super anxious and I don't like making like decisions or choices and yeah, I just compare it to like that situation or like if I think like something is like I did something wrong, it's like that kind of situation. So over online, it's been especially with like social media, it's been really hard for me because you can't always tell like how people are feeling towards you or how like you're relating with your friends or your family. And so it's been like a big thing for me is like being cooped up and not getting that actual interaction with people makes me kind of like anxious that it's not the same as it used to be, I guess.
Yeah. Do you get anxious like when you're around your friends, like when you or like just people in general because like you've spent so much
Kind of
time
people
removed
in
from them?
general, just people in general. It's a lot better this semester, I will say, than last semester. I have a really good group of friends here, and we all have our own struggles, and so it's really helpful to kind of have the people to talk to and have them around. But I'm really lucky in the friend department in there,
Yeah.
so that's been nice.
I was gonna ask, yeah, like what are some of your coping mechanisms to deal with the anxiety when it gets, that bad? Like, what do you do to keep yourself in check?
Personally, I'm not afraid to cry. This might sound bad,
That's
um,
no, that's amazing. I
but
think people should cry more often.
I know I am definitely not afraid. I know when it's like my time where I need to like sit back and be alone,
Uh-huh.
and just kind of mentally take a break. I make blankets actually. I like they're like the loop knits, and so actually this year I just keep a bag of like my blanket, and so sometimes if I just have like a day or two where I need to sit there and make my blanket, that's what I do.
That's awesome.
Some weird mechanisms there, but they work.
And if it works for you, it works for you.
Yep.
What this is a big thing I think about too with COVID. Like, what is your routine like? Like, if you're doing a lot of stuff online, do you have a certain go-to schedule that you like to have every day? Does it change every so often? Like, how do you organize things to get your homework done, to be present in the lectures, and then have time for friends and your job and clubs and all that stuff? How does that work?
Yeah, last semester it was a lot harder for me. I had like all my classes were set so you could just do things on your own time. So I could like sleep until 11 o'clock if I wanted and like stay up until midnight or like random things like that. But this semester I've made myself a schedule because I do have like set Zoom classes and I work in early in the morning. I work like 6 to 9 a.m. Like 4 days a
Wow.
week.
Oh God.
So yeah, so I like have my own set schedule now that like I know I need to follow in order to get things done. And it makes it more enjoyable for me because I have like a goal to get everything done like Monday through Friday. And then like the weekend is kind of a me time. And sometimes I like get to go home and like see my family or like even just being here with my friends on campus. That's like my break from school and break from kind of everything else, I guess. So I have just gotten better about like making a schedule and like making myself wake up on time, no sleeping till like 10 o'clock anymore. So that's been nice and helpful. I know a lot of people do it differently. Like some people like to stay up really late, but I just don't function when I do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good to have a schedule, but like when you're peeling back from what you're used to, that can be the hardest part. I noticed like if I like I don't get it. Like I used to be so good and I'd wake up at the same time every day, but like if I let myself go a little bit at nighttime, like watch Netflix past the time that I want to get away from a screen, the
Yeah,
next morning like I didn't get enough like efficient sleep, so then I'll sleep in for another 30 minutes. And once you break your routine or your habit once, it's like it's so hard to rebuild it, but
yeah,
it's so easy to lose it. Like you could lose a habit in one day, but then it would take like a week or a month to build a good habit.
yeah. I've been sick for like the last like week. I just have a cold and I know I've broken like I've taken like naps or like gone to sleep after class and it's like I'm like out of my routine and I'm trying to like get back into it right now.
So on top of like the friendships that you've been able to establish, anything like has there been any success with like your dating life? Have you even tried? Do you care? Are you gonna make out with people like with a mask on? I see like that's a new thing, which I think is completely ludicrous.
I've never seen that. Personally, I'm not dating anybody right now. Um, it's not that I'm not open to it. I just am very I struggle. Like I like to meet the right person, I guess. And with COVID, it's kind of hard to meet people,
Mhm.
um, except like through online. And I guess, I've been focusing on myself because that's more the type of person I am, like with school and everything. I will say, like, you do have opportunities here at Iowa State. I've met a few nice like boys this year, I guess, and just hasn't worked out, but that's okay because I'm a very independent person, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, you're also young too, so I mean, there's really no reason to put pressure on it.
yeah, no,
I just
no,
think it's interesting because that's another part of like I mean, everybody needs validation to some extent. So I get why people our age in college would be frustrated that,
mm,
with already like where the world was going to be isolated from one another by being on phones and kind of like living on your own. But now we have COVID, which throws another wrench in the system. And I mean, I do feel bad for people our age because it is very hard at this current moment to meet people, especially in an organic way because we've stripped that, that contact with people because of COVID, because we
Yeah.
want to limit the spread and whatnot. But it's like, you know, I just feel like it could be doing so much damage to people, their mental health. Like, because people are turning to like online, which is not a bad thing. But I don't know if you've ever tried Tinder or Bumble or any of those things, but they never work. Like, it's always like chicks that want random hookups, or like these girls aren't very confident in themselves. Like, it attracts broken people. And like, that's just not what I want. I want to meet people in person.
I know personally I do have a Tinder and a Bumble, but the Tinder is for fun because I like seeing people I know on it and like swiping. It's
Yeah.
more for fun. I don't actually really talk to people on it, but I think this is funny actually. Bumble asks you like when you make the app, they ask you like if you're okay with like safety, like COVID safety things, like if you like are
Yeah.
okay with it in person. And I always think that's funny that now that's like something that's added on to an app that like everyone used to use like regularly.
Yeah.
Um, with COVID, everything's changed so much.
Yeah. Well, and it's also kind of weird because at the end of the day, these apps are businesses. So they're profiting off of the fact that like all these people are going on there, but you're still very removed from one another. So like I don't really know if it's serving the purpose that it was intentionally meant to serve, if that
Yes,
makes sense.
yes. I
But you're not stressing like a relationship or anything like that.
no, I think like some people need that person, and I just have really, again, I'm really independent. I have really good friends. I think if I was struggling like where I didn't have that, it would be very different. But I'm okay with just like spending a night with my friends or like things like that. Like I know we do a lot of like random movie nights, and like on Valentine's Day we had a Galentine's Day, so
Like,
things like that.
yeah, I guess it just depends on the situation that you're in, like, because it's all about validation. So if you have a good group of friends, like maybe you wouldn't even think about like needing a relationship at that moment, which you should never really need a relationship. It's
Yeah.
more or less that people want that connection with another person.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of friends that have boyfriends. My roommate personally has a boyfriend, and like I enjoy when he comes here to visit and like sees her and stuff. But personally, like I just right now I haven't met that person that like want that connection with, and I'm okay with it.
Is there anything that you're like super disappointed in about this year? Like it could be COVID related or it could be with your classes. Anything that you would like want to change?
I mean, I really wish that like we had the normal like I know being a freshman and I know people in high school are struggling right now with the normal experience, but we kind of got ripped away from that senior year and then transitioned into where it continued with our freshman year here.
Hmm.
One thing that I really wish was just like the social interactions were the same as like they used to be, because
Hmm.
I think even after COVID, with everything brought into light that COVID did, it's not going to ever be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Um, and COVID's not going to fully go away, as they like to say with the vaccine. Like it's not like a disease you can just get rid of. But I think that there's ways to manage it, and I like really hope that with the social interactions, like that can be better in the coming years, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't understand is if they can't get rid of COVID, then like what's the point of making us go through all this if we're never going to get rid of it? You know what I mean? Like cuz that I'm scared of the bigger things at stake like mental health. Like suicides have like rose exponentially ever since COVID started. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, like I live in my own apartment off of campus here in Indianola going to Simpson. So I'm not really around people. I'm not really exposed to people. Like, how long can people endure that? Like, I think, I think people made those decisions with the restrictions to hopefully limit the spread, but like, we also have basic needs on a human level. Like you said, like social interaction, seeing smiles. I
Yeah.
mean, fuck, if you're going to get in a relationship, like, kiss without a mask. Like,
Yeah.
mask ain't hot. Like, I'm making out with a chick with a mask on.
No.
Stupid.
Yes. I know a lot of people that like have struggled with like my grandpa personally, he lives by himself, and like just social wise, like I've been too scared to go over there because I still do go out in college and I do have that like risk factor. But
Mhm.
he also doesn't have a whole lot of people like around him,
Yeah.
and things like that kind of scare me. That like even when we have like the vaccine and stuff, they're not saying that like the strains can change and like they don't really have a game plan, I guess, which there's something new, so nobody can have like a set answer. But
Yeah.
it is different and it is scary. But also, I'm big on that if you have the risks, like I understand like being worried and scared, but also I don't want to live my life in a box.
That's the thing, and it's like you can't question the narrative. I feel like this issue has become highly politicized, and that's where I disagree with it because the people that are in government and they're making the decisions, they don't lose a paycheck. But when they shut the whole country down, all these small businesses that are getting completely wiped out, they're the things that make our economy and our world survive on a day-to-day basis. It's just going to be big corporations from now on. And again, they don't lose a paycheck. Same thing with politicians. They don't lose money, but they're making decisions that affect the entirety of the country. And it's like people are afraid of death. Like you shouldn't be afraid of death. We should have a different relationship with death. Like obviously, I don't want people to die,
Yeah.
but uh, on top of old people that get affected by COVID, a lot of people that have that chance of getting it and dying are people that are obese. And it's like, okay, yeah, some of that could be genetics, but it could also be that you just don't fucking take care of yourself.
Yes.
So how can you feel bad for those people if they're not living a good, healthy life? They get COVID and they die because they're obese, they're overweight. But you can't say that. You can't fat shame people.
Yeah, that's why I'm very indifferent on the issue. I think that if you have those health risks, it's your choice to stay at home, your choice to be online. But I also think, again, like I personally, like someone asked me this other day, are you scared to like die or get COVID and get really sick? And like personally, like yeah, it's a scary thing, and it's nobody wants to die and nobody wants to like leave early on. But also, I would rather say I went out and I went to this party or I went out and I jumped out of a plane or
Yeah.
anything like that than I sat in my room and I stared at my computer all day.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like that's why I know like my friend group we enjoy going out on the weekends still and like yes, it's risky, but also like we don't ever go around people that have health risks that we know like we don't want to get sick or things like that. And if we're feeling sick, like we stay home. I
Yeah.
think it's about like mandating like your levels and like you can't put everyone in a box. It's
Yeah.
everyone's self decision.
That's exactly how it should be. People should have their choices. And if you are a person that is terrified, okay, well, then, you could be dependent on the government. I think that's not to take this whole issue and get into like politics, but I think that that's what the left tries to do is they try and make people more dependent on government, which
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of did a pretty good job with that through COVID. But I'm the same way. It's like, maybe it's different for us because we're in college and we're just getting started with our lives that we want to go out, we want to like I didn't expect this to be my last year in college. I took a year and a half off. I actually went up to Iowa State for a little bit. I was at Simpson for a year after doing DMAC, and then after my first year at Simpson I took a year off. Then I went up to Ames.
Gotcha.
Situation didn't work, and then it ended up being a year and a half, and then I came back to Simpson. But my first semester back at Simpson was last year, and then that's when COVID started. So, um, like me being older than like freshmen and stuff, like I kind of feel like I'm in your guys' boat as well, and it sucks. It's like I came back to get a college experience, and it's really not the college experience that you would expect.
Yeah. And yeah, again, like you said, maybe we have that mindset because we are in college. Like I know my sisters are older, they have kids, like they're very worried about their kids and I totally understand and would never want to put like my nieces and nephews at risk. I love them to death. Like never want that. But I also know that they're growing up in a different era and they're seeing it, but we grew up knowing what we knew. Like we grew up, you had these social interactions, you were used to going to school every day. It's very hard to adjust to that and just say, okay, sit inside and wear your mask everywhere you go. Like again, I wear my mask to go to the bathroom. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and again, like I don't know, it's like I find myself trying to be careful around people, not wanting to piss people off. Because honestly, I have a different point of view than people. Like, I just don't think you necessarily need to wear a mask everywhere. Again, like, because it could still spread. And if we're getting all these vaccines and whatnot, and it's never going to be fully eliminated, then again, like, what's the point? Like, okay, yeah, you're trying to limit the spread, but it's still going to exist. Like, it really doesn't matter. And I'm big on mental health, and I think that's a huge thing. And I think it's different at Simpson because we have a smaller college, so we are able to do in-person classes. But I feel bad for the professors too because they're looking at all these kids and they got masks on. Like, I'm assuming we probably all look disinterested in their eyes. Like the material is not landing, it's not sticking.
No.
But
Um, yeah, I'm scared to be an education major and have this still be around because I don't want this to be my new normal of teaching because I grew up watching my parents are teachers and I grew up watching kids already not want to listen to them
yeah,
and not be interested in school. And this has made it like 10 times worse. So,
right. What? So are you? Is that what you're trying to do? Like through your majors to go into education?
yeah, I'm an ag education major right now here at Iowa State. And so my plan is to teach high school agriculture right now. We'll see where that goes with COVID and continuing on with school, I guess, kind of early on.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's very different because, like, I in high school with ag classes got to do like FFA competitions, and you meet so many people through events like that. But I know right now, all my friends back home are really struggling because it's been a very different year for them, and they haven't gotten that interaction or their senior year of like finishing those things. So
Hmm.
it's very different.
Yeah. I think that's really all the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you would like to add on this subject that I didn't touch on?
Um, I think that's pretty much also all I have right now.
I felt good. I felt like I kind of got cleansed there because I got to rant a little bit.
Yeah, I think you and I kind of have similar mindsets on the
Yeah.
whole issue.
Well, it's good to find like-minded people, so
Yeah.
I know that I'm not actually like crazy.
No, you're not. And yeah, I think everyone has a very different opinion on it. Like if you ask the person next door, we probably have a whole different style, and everyone has their own concerns. But that's the point of a democracy, I guess, and the point of being able to make your own choice is that we all have our own right, I guess. And with the masks and everything, it's very different.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I would say to that, again, not to get too political, is I just wish that people would have more of a critical mindset. I think a lot of this, and not all of it, because it is a real thing that affects real people, but I think a lot of that happens in media when they talk about this. So they create this fear mongering amongst people, and people don't really think about it critically, like go and look at, do their own research for themselves. And so it's like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's like they don't have enough knowledge at their disposal to make their own decision.
Yeah.
Like, they
You just
just took
know
this
what to
thing at
tell
face
you.
value when it happened.
Yep. Yep, I agree totally on that. Because especially like with the mask thing, again, like wearing them, and I know Governor Kim Reynolds just took away that mandate here in Iowa, but like any mask doesn't actually protect you fully, I guess. Like, only the surgical ones actually like stop the spread, and it's only like one time use. And I don't think people actually realize that. So, like, when you're walking around and you're wearing your mask,
Yeah.
you're not actually really stopping the spread. You're just wearing a mask on
Well,
your
they
face.
think it's two masks now. They want you to wear two masks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hear that one. That's an
Yeah.
interesting one.
So think about that and like how hard it would be able to breathe with two masks on.
Personally, me having asthma, I would not appreciate that
Yeah.
very
No,
clearly.
like when I'm in the gym, I'm like, there's no fucking way that I could lift and have this thing on. Like
No.
it's nearly impossible because it makes it more strenuous on you. And like I don't want to risk passing out.
Yeah, no. I would not. I would not wear two masks to the gym. I barely wear one.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, have a good day.
you
Stay
too.
safe. Enjoy the rest of the semester, and yeah, just push that information out there because that would be a great help to me.
Awesome. Good luck with the rest of your project.
Thank you.
Your sister also.
All right. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye bye.